All right, so welcome to the latest episode of Geeked Out tonight. With it being October now and leading into Halloween in just a few weeks, we decided to dip our toes into the world of horror and thrillers. And this week we watched. Uh,
Black horror, to be specific. Joking.
that's not the name of the movie. No, this week we watched Wes Craven's The People Under the Stairs.
Yeah.
This movie was.
Highly underrated.
You know what? It was a good movie. I had never seen it before, but I did. I
Yeah.
thoroughly enjoyed it. I thought it was a lot of fun.
It's one of those movies that I honestly I make a point to suggest it to people that well first like horror and or just like horror movies. That's in a movie that's not too horror-y. It's my go-to. And I think like even if you are a fan of movies, you should watch it because it's a good solid movie.
Yeah, I found it super entertaining.
Yeah, and a lot of people have heard of it.
No, I had never heard of it before this. And when you brought it up, I said, "What the hell is this movie?" And then I looked, and as soon as you said, "Oh, it's a Wes Craven," I said, "Oh, all right." I've never heard of this, but I guess I'll give it a shot. And like I said, I surprisingly thoroughly enjoyed the movie. I thought it was a lot of fun. It was a good watch. But so a little background on the movie: it was originally released November 1st, 1991. It was written and directed by Wes Craven. And
Yeah.
it had a budget of only $6 million, and it made a total worldwide of 31.3 million. So that's a pretty decent return. So
That's
that
pretty good.
I'd say it was a hit, especially for 91, considering what movies made back then. I mean, you can't really compare them to the $1 billion that some movies make today.
Yeah, especially a horror movie. For a horror movie, that is a really good profit.
No, I agree. Yeah, it has a 6.4 out of 10 rating on IMDb and 70% on Rotten Tomato with an audience score of 60%.
Okay.
Uh, the movie is starring Brandon Quinton Adams, and for those of you who might be unfamiliar with that name, I'm sure you will recognize his face. You will know him as either Jesse from the Mighty Ducks franchise, or I believe it was Kenny DeNunez in The Sandlot. He's
So, AKA the black kid from the hockey movie, and
and
then
the
the black
baseball
kid
movie.
from the baseball movie.
Pretty
Gotcha.
much. Unfortunately, that's kind of how it's remembered. Unfortunately, but yeah, I guess you could say it that way.
Yeah.
Uh,
But I knew this character from this movie. Like this was my first introduction to this character, Fool. And I'll always know him as Fool forever because like I said, I really like this movie and I watched this movie way too young and it left quite an impression.
I
So
could
yeah, he'll
see that.
always be Fool for me.
Well, that's something we'll definitely get to. But before we get to that, I just want to round out the cast. We also have Everett McGill and Wendy Robbie playing the roles of mommy and daddy. Then we have AJ Langer. She played what was her name? She plays Alice. The great Ving Rhames.
Yeah.
Sean Whalen, he's a character actor. I'm sure a lot of people would recognize. And Bill Cobbs, the great Bill Cobbs, is also in this movie. Um, so a little background on the movie. It's do you want to give a brief synopsis, or do you want me to read it straight off of the IMDb here?
I could probably give a quick synopsis. Basically, this kid who's living in terrible conditions has an opportunity to save I get his situation because he's on the verge of getting kicked out. His mom is sick, so Ving Rhames offers him an opportunity to solve that problem, which includes breaking and entering into one of the most terrifying houses I've ever seen in a movie.
Well, it's as
Run,
they say in the
run.
trailer. It's that house that everyone avoids.
Yeah, I could see that. Maybe not from the outside, but yeah, once you get even inside a little bit, you're like, yeah, I don't want to be here. You've made a mistake. Yeah, they break into the house, and once broken into, pretty much anarchy.
Oh yeah,
A
all
lot
hell
of
breaks loose.
Yeah, all hell breaks loose. So, yeah, man. Like I said, this movie, watching this at such a young age, I was definitely under 10. And
Yeah, you
yeah.
shouldn't have been watching it under 10.
No, no, definitely not. But my parents, they had faith in my. I didn't really get, unless it was Chucky. I think that was the only thing I was really terrified as a kid.
Well,
And
because
the
you
movie
probably
never,
because you
it didn't
had
scare me to
toys.
the point of like it gave me nightmares, but it definitely like it freaked me the fuck out.
I feel there are a few movies for young children, if they were to watch, that would be more terrifying than Chucky, because we all owned, whether you want to call them dolls or action figures or things like that, and the idea that one of them could come to life with or be possessed by the spirit of a serial killer or something like that was a terrifying thing, because I mean, obviously it's completely far-fetched and can never happen, but as a child, in that kid's mind where you're kind of afraid of everything, that was a real fear that I'm sure a lot of little kids had who watched those movies way too
Oh
soon.
yeah. I remember having a reoccurring nightmare of Chucky chasing me down like the hallway. Sometimes he would catch me, sometimes I'd wake up before. So,
Yeah.
yeah. So, but other than that, that was really the only thing that got to me.
No, I didn't really, and I still don't watch a ton of horror movies. I wasn't really into them too much, especially as a kid. Um, I mean, I watched things like Scream and I Know What You Did Last Summer and that, and even those kind of freaked me out a little bit, only because I wasn't really a fan of the genre, so it was something completely out of my wheelhouse that I would
Yeah.
watch, and it was like, okay, this is very different than what I'm used to, and it was a little jarring, but
And Scream's another Wes Craven movie, right?
yes, it is.
And again, it has a lot of that balance that he accomplished in this movie. It was a little like the scary parts that are supposed to be scary, they hit. The tense moments definitely hit, and then Scream definitely had a few comedic moments that also hit, which in perfect Wes Craven style, I think that's what catapulted that movie into pulp culture.
Oh, they're still making.
I,
They
oh
still
yeah,
they just
oh
made
yeah, I'm
another
still
one
making
this year.
great. Yeah, exactly. But it all comes down to that first one and that Wes Craven style.
Yeah. Well, that's what I was a little shocked by when I looked this movie up, and one of the genres that it said it was comedy, and I kind of went, really? You're gonna? And then I watched it, and they're not like laugh out loud, fall down jokes, but there are
No,
several comedic moments that I found myself chuckling
I think one of
pretty
the
pretty good
yeah
at.
yeah one of the funny parts that gets me every time is when he tells the dog to shut the fuck up.
Yeah,
It's just the way he says it, and it
when he
just
just
came out of
opens the
nowhere.
door. Yeah,
It was just those two things that just it made that scene just even more funny.
well, even I even have a note here that's, and I don't even remember when it's said, but it's he's describing the guy who plays um, Daddy, or the man of the house. Everett McGill is the guy who plays him. They refer to him as a man the size of Detroit.
Jesus.
I
Okay.
don't know what that means, but
I don't know what that means either.
I laughed out loud pretty good at that line. I was like, wait a sec, what are
Detroit
you? What
big?
the fuck?
I mean, he's tall.
I mean, he looks like he's tall, but I'm like, well, what the fuck is that?
That is the most unique way to describe somebody.
Yeah. But yeah, so this, I mean, and again, as you were saying, the general gist of this movie, when he gets in the house, the people under the stairs, as the title refers, is
Yeah, they
he's
don't really get a whole lot of focus, but they're definitely in the movie, and they
see, that's what I
definitely.
found weird, because they're basically, it's this couple who you later find out in the movie are actually brother and sister. I thought the whole movie they were husband and wife, and then they're like, oh, they're brother and sister, and I went, well, this is quite the interesting relationship the two of them have.
Well, I think they're definitely playing husband and wife. I mean, it's not really clear. They're not really romantic towards each other in the movie.
No, but they say they refer to them as that they are brother and sister.
Exactly.
That's why I was so taken aback. But I think like you said, I think they're.
But you don't know for sure if they're involving themselves into incest because they're like you find out later in the movie that they're kidnapping these children.
Exactly. Yeah, they're taking all
So
these
are
different
they
people.
are they just playing the part of the mother and the father? You know what I mean? Like
Yeah, I
how
get what you're
far are they
saying.
taking it?
I get what
Is
you're
that
saying
is
because yeah, that's what the people under the stairs refers to as. It basically says that over a period of I don't think they actually say how many years, but over several years they've kind of abducted young boys and put them in their basement.
yeah, they cut
And
out the bad
basically,
parts.
pardon me.
She's the little girl, the girl. She said they say they cut out the bad parts, which I'm assuming is like their tongues, hopefully,
Yeah, I
before they
hope
send
that's
them
what
to the
they're
basement.
referring to. But yeah,
Yeah.
they put them down there, and basically they keep them down there, and anybody who might come to the house in terms of like they refer to things like salesmen or people who work
Repairman.
for the gas company or things like that. They more or less bring them to the basement and feed them to these what they've turned into forced cannibals, I guess.
Yeah, I
Uh,
guess that's what happens when you eat people and you don't get a lot of sunlight. You just look like a zombie.
oh, yeah, they look messed up.
They look like zombies.
I, I
And like
will say, I will
the
say the
thing that
makeup
freaked me
effect
out,
looks pretty good.
yeah, and the thing that always freaked me out about those, like the people under the stairs, not like their look, not really, but it's those sounds that they made.
The noises,
Those
the
like
howls, the
those
screams.
howling, dude. Though, man, I rewatched this not too long ago, and like, yeah, those howls, they stick with me, man. Especially when they say, for some reason, I don't know why, but when they say fool, when they're saying fool, fool, dude,
Yeah,
that just like it sends chills down my spine.
yeah. No, I agree. Well, the funny thing is that character Fool. Again, the unintentional comedy when they said his birth name, his given name is Poindexter.
Poindexter.
I
Yeah.
almost fell out of my chair.
It's like, yeah, some brother's name
Well, I'm looking at him.
Poindexter.
I'm looking at him. I'm like, you couldn't name him Steve or John
Yeah.
or Tim or no Poindexter.
I
What
mean, it was
you
the early 90s, so I guess that name was still kind of around,
I know, but it almost
but
seems
still
like
not
they
a lot of people are called
well, it
Poindexter.
almost seems like he picked the most random off the wall name just because he knew it was never going to get used because he's always called by his nickname.
Yeah, yeah, he just probably picked a fucking name out of a hat.
So I don't know if he picked it just for because he thought it was fun or I don't know what it was, but no,
It was probably between that Bartholomew or some other bullshit, and he just picked it out of a hat.
yeah, yeah,
That's what
that
I'm thinking.
wouldn't surprise me.
But no, yeah, fool is definitely, even though you don't want to be called a fool. I kind of
No,
like it. It kind of, even though he's not a fool, this kid's fucking smart in this movie. He doesn't do any dumb shit really that normal, horror movie tropes. He doesn't really fall into them,
no, he doesn't at all.
which is refreshing, for a horror type
Especially
movie.
considering the basis of the people who are breaking in the house is him and two adult men, and he's by far the smartest of all three of them, and he's what 10 years old, 12 years old.
Oh yeah, he's definitely like one of those wise beyond his years type characters, man. And yeah, he definitely was smarter than Ving Rhames. I like I like to hate Ving Rhames in this movie, man. He's a real piece of shit.
Well, see, it's funny because I didn't realize I had no idea what his character was like, and as soon as I saw him, with like the pattern, like the hat and things like that,
That
and
African hat, yeah.
I'm like, oh, all right, I'm a big fan of Ving Rhames, and I'm like, yeah, all right, let's go. Like he's on screen, I love
Yeah.
this guy, and then I would say within maybe a couple of minutes of him opening his mouth, I was like, what a fucking prick.
Oh yeah. And
I mean,
like
and
it
then
makes sense what he's wearing because in the early 90s there was a whole like there's a bit of an era where black people were trying to be more connected to the roots, the African roots. So they would
yeah, they were
wear
trying to
more
show
African
off that the
inspired stuff.
culture, the
So yeah,
yeah.
yeah, yeah. So that definitely would explain why Ben Rames was rocking that
No,
style back.
you know what? It suited him quite well, I will say.
Yeah, man. I
But
wouldn't be surprised if it makes a comeback.
no, I mean, I'm sure there are some people that it might look a little strange on, but I thought he pulled it off quite well.
Yeah, and even though you hate
The
Ving Rhames in
character.
this movie, like he's not the best person. You like he's still he still has a little bit of charm to him, and he's such a great actor that
I think that's
want,
just
your
natural.
eyes are glued to him the whole scene because he's just really good at what he does.
Well, it's like even like there's the scene that when after they first go and do recon on the house type thing, and then they come back and they're in the apartment, and so Ving Rhames, I believe he's dating the main character's oldest sister,
I
or he's
guess,
good
yeah,
friends with her, or
because
something
he's
like.
also working for the landlord at too. So I don't know, man. Maybe they're just friends with benefits type situation / maybe they're dating.
Yeah, it's hard to tell if they're dating or if they're just close friends, and he just kind of hangs around the family and.
Yeah, because I because he knew everything about the goddamn landlord, so I know he's working for him. So it's like, but
Yeah,
she's not just gonna not. I don't know. I think they definitely maybe were dating, but there was definitely something happening.
yeah, that's what it seemed like. But then
So many
that,
unanswered questions I've always had about this movie, and that's definitely one of them.
well, and that's one of the things when I was watching it is when they're back at the apartment after they've already gone to the house the first time. He's he's basically saying like, no, we've got to do this and that, and the older sister is telling him like, just lay off him, like let this go, and he like spins on her and he's like, don't fucking touch me. I'm like, okay, we're about to see some like domestic violence. Like
Yeah,
that
and it's
that
got
got
me
intense for
thinking,
a second.
and it's got me thinking, what if everything would have turned out like would have worked out? Would he even have given Fool any money? Probably would have not get him nothing. He probably gave him a couple
No,
coins, or
yeah,
maybe he wouldn't have. He would have
yeah,
double crossed both of them. I
yeah,
just
I don't think he would have at all, because again, that's what they're going in, is they're told that there's this rare gold coins that they'll be able to pay their rent and won't be evicted from their apartment and things like that, and that's kind of the motivation. But
which you need to get evicted from that apartment. That apartment is, I think, one of the worst apartment buildings I've ever seen on screen.
oh, it
Wes
looked
Cra-
awful.
it seemed like Wes Craven tried to make this the absolute worst environment to ever live in.
Oh yeah, it did not look.
There were like dogs eating some type of random organ. I still don't know what that is. Well, that definitely wasn't a steak.
Oh yeah, I know what you're talking about.
And
It
there's
looked
like
like some kind.
junkies everywhere. It's like the dirtiest building you ever seen in your life.
It,
Inside is fucking dirty. It's like,
well,
God damn, Wes Craven.
those dogs. There were like three or four of them all fighting over that piece of meat. It looked like it was in the apartment directly across the hall from his door. Like,
Like, I
what the
get it.
hell?
This motherfucker is in the hood, but damn, man. I don't think apartments are that bad.
I mean, I'll
I don't
be
think
honest.
apartments are that bad.
I think
They're
I would
pretty close, but damn.
I think I would rather live in Freddy Krueger's boiler room than in that apartment building.
I'd rather live in a fucking tent near the freeway than fucking live there.
Yeah, it did not look but I mean, again, going back to set design, that's great set design by the set designer, yeah, but that's great by them in giving it that feel of,
Yeah.
as shitty as it is, this is the best that they can do because of the current situation that they're in.
And I think it was intentional because also, aside from being it comedy, horror, thriller, a little bit of mystery, this also has a lot to say about the whole gentrification movement and how like classism and how like how the people with money treat the people without money.
Absolutely, because that's the whole thing. Is they're saying that they just keep jacking the rent up, and the minute that everybody can't pay it, they kick them out and demolish the building and put up something that they can make a lot more money from. And it's I completely get that it could be a statement on that, and which is really unfortunate because we still live in people still deal with things like that every day.
Those messages are still holding true to this day. Like it's which is why a lot of people should watch this movie, because it still holds up, because people are still going through a lot of the situations that old fool is going through in this movie.
Yeah. Now I will say, as I say, I did enjoy the movie, but I mean there were some things that I wasn't overly crazy on or nitpick. One of the nitpicks that I have is there was some I don't know if you picked up on it this time or if you noticed in the past, there is some real bad ADR in this movie.
Oh yeah.
I mean, I know that's
it never took me out of it.
No, it didn't take me out of it, but it was
ADR, you really notice it, and I don't know, man. It's either gonna bother you or not. This one, it didn't really.
It didn't bother me.
It stand out. It didn't stand out for me enough.
No, it didn't bother me. I did notice it though. It was just a specific scene, and I kind of went.
Which scene?
I'm sorry.
Which scene was it?
The one that sticks out in my mind the most is when I believe it's again with right after that almost domestic violence situation, and it's his sister saying something, and you can clearly see her mouth is barely moving.
Yeah.
But then the funniest,
the parents, or whatever, the mom and dad, whatever.
Well, the funniest part of it is his sister says something in this ADR, and then she talks again, and her voice sounds completely different.
Jeez.
So like it was pretty glaring, but it, like I say, it didn't take me out of it. It was just something that was hard to not notice.
Okay. Yeah, it stuck out way more for you. I mean, whatever. I could see that.
But overall, like I thought in the movie, I thought the acting was for a horror movie, it was pretty good. I mean, of course, bless you, holy shit.
Yeah, for a horror movie,
you're not gonna get Academy Award worthy acting from a horror movie. I don't expect that, but I thought that everybody played their parts quite believable. I mean, the people who own the house, they come off as rightly terrifying, like just completely off the wall, insane.
And they are directly modeled off the Reagans.
The Reagans, as in Ronald and Nancy?
Yes. Because I believe Ronald Reagan would call his wife mother.
You know what? I believe you're right. You call her mother or mommy or something like that.
Yeah, fucking strange, but that's their thing.
Yeah, that to each their own. I'm no judgment here, but I guess that makes sense now that you say it. I did like their portrayal, the way those two were.
Yeah, I really like the father, man. I think I don't think I've ever seen that guy in anything else.
I
maybe a small bit here and there, but nothing really sticks out to me. But I think he was great.
I kind of recognized him, but I could not tell you for the life of me what I might have seen him in, other than now watching this.
And like the mom sister, she was good. She played like a great super Karen. She's like a super Karen to me. She played a really insane woman, very goddamn convincing and well.
Yeah, I thought she did a really good job. She was very, especially near the end when she's kind of freaking out and as she's kind of screaming and she's got that almost like shrill scream voice quality. That really, really helped with it.
I would say the weakest actor is probably the the kidnapped daughter.
AJ Langer, she's
she's
not great.
She didn't emote. It just wasn't as believable as the other characters. Like it seemed she was very wooden to me.
Yeah, I was gonna say the same thing.
But other than that, I mean, I think the rest of the cast all hit. That knocked it out of the park, man.
You know who I. So again, I mentioned him when I was going over the cast list is Sean Whalen, who played Roach.
Yeah, shout out to Roach, man.
Now Sean Whalen he's a character actor. This actually was his first movie.
I know. I was like, I know him in things, but I couldn't pinpoint where the fuck I've seen him in things.
So the thing that I know him most recently from, the first thing that popped in my head is, did you ever watch the show Superstore?
The what? The show?
The TV show Superstore.
I've seen maybe a couple clips.
So he plays in the first season, or the first and second season, one or the other. He plays a character who basically goes by the name Creepy Sal.
That poor man. Man.
But that's where I know him from, and immediately he came on screen. And again, I've seen him in a bunch of things. I can't remember off the top of my head, but he's a character actor that everybody has
been around forever.
And he looked, in every scene that he was in, he looked like he was having a fucking blast.
Oh yeah.
Like, he I know he's supposed to be portraying like a kid or a teenager or something, but he just constantly was just wide-eyed and with the biggest smile, and he just looked like he was having the greatest time. I thought that was hilarious.
Yeah, you could tell, like, he was a young, bright-eyed actor who was, you could tell he was just genuinely happy being on screen. And probably Wes Craven probably let him just kind of do his own thing.
Yeah, because he was supposed to be that, like, a manic type. Because he's one of the people in the under the stairs that
got out.
He's gotten out, and he can't escape from the house, but what he's doing is he's running around inside the walls, kind of causing havoc and kind of
basically fucking with the goddamn.
Well, and he's built like booby traps and all these other things, and it's very intricate. I mean.
Yeah, I've never decked out his little sleeping area with lights.
Yeah, I mean, these, I guess, old houses have walls that are like 3.5 feet. I want to know
the houses that have these spaces, man. I want to go in them. It looks fun. See
what's there.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah.
Well, I mean, yeah. In the movie, you've got not full grown. Well, I guess not full grown adults, but teenagers, I guess, running through these walls. You've got a full size Rottweiler. Like
just running at full goddamn speed.
How big are the gaps between these walls? I mean,
pretty goddamn big.
I mean, it helps because it helps for the story of the movie, because that's where he's able to escape to and kind of cause his havoc as he does in the film.
There's a lot of scenes were shot in those in the walls.
Yeah. So what did you think overall of the main character of the kid?
That was great. I thought, he's, the actor is very strong, and which is rare when it comes to kid actors.
He was only 12 when this came out, so he probably would have been around 10 or 11 when they actually filmed it.
Yeah, man, he had a lot
which is impressive.
Personality. He delivered his lines great. Unlike most protagonists in horror movies, he doesn't make any dumb mistakes. Like he would do believable stuff that you would kind of think of if you're in that situation.
Yeah, no, I agree.
Yeah, I think he was great.
Yeah, I think he did a really good job.
For being 12, like that's highly impressive.
Yeah, he did a really good job, and again, like I say, I grew up knowing him from Mighty Ducks and The Sandlot and that, but I thought though those movies, he's not the main character. He's just one of a member of the team. So he doesn't need to be that dynamic in terms of his on-screen persona or capabilities. But
No,
I
it
thought
was in the early stages of movies needed to have diversity.
Yeah.
And you couldn't have an all-white cast without at least casting. You know what I mean? At least one ethnic kid.
I mean, aside from a couple franchises, unfortunately, a lot of movies are still like that.
Yeah,
it's sad. It's sad. I mean, everyone likes to think that we've come such a long way, but it doesn't really seem like we've come that far. Unfortunately,
I think movies and cast should only be diverse if the movie calls for it.
If it makes sense.
Makes sense. Like, not every cast needs to have a bunch of races in it. You know what I mean? Like, whatever. That's for another topic.
Yeah,
but no, Fool's definitely. I was impressed. I think his character is like up there. It should be talked about more when it comes to horror. Like, I wouldn't say icons, but at least horror protagonists that are memorable. I think he should definitely be up there in the conversation because I enjoyed him.
Yeah, I agree. I'd agree with that 100%. And again, so now we'll go so I'll bring up next the Ving Rhames. So going into this movie, like I said, I didn't really know a whole lot about it. And even from the trailer, it's hard. You can't really tell what type of character.
Yeah, I don't think I ever seen the trailer. I have to watch it after.
You can't really tell what any type of character, like anybody is, or their type of personality from the trailer. So I still was going into it like, oh, Ving Rhames is going to be like either the main character or real close to the,
what I mean?
mean?
That's 90s trailers. 90s trailers didn't tell you shit.
No, it's not like nowadays
trailers where they tell you the entire movie.
Well, in retrospect, I think the trailer for this movie is like 1:10. I don't think I've seen a trailer released in the past 10 years that's shorter than 2.5, 3 minutes.
Yeah. I think 2.5 minutes is like the minimum now.
That's the standard.
Yeah. Which is, I don't agree with, but
it's ridiculous. Yeah, it's ridiculous. I mean, it should honestly because then, like you say, you see not half the movie, obviously, but you see good portions or clips of the movie that kind of ruin certain things. I mean, I've seen trailers that ruin what are supposed to be big twists in the movie, and it's like, well, now what's the point?
Yeah, and there's been a few movies that gave away twists that the director themselves got pissed.
Yeah. Well, the one trailer that always comes to mind that gave things away was the Terminator Salvation trailer. I mean, if anybody's seen that movie, it
was spoiled the fact that the dude was a Terminator.
Yeah, because So this in the if you've seen the movie, which I'm assuming you have,
I've seen it a time. I like it. A lot of people don't like it.
I don't like it as a Terminator movie.
I don't hate it. If it's on, I'll watch it.
I don't like it, but I'll leave it on. It's watchable.
It's better than the fucking last two that came out. I can tell you that.
Don't get me started. But but that trailer, the scene where it shows him like hanging above that pit, and you can see his like metallic rib cage.
Oh, when he's dead?
No, when they're the scene where they're like interrogating him, where Christian Bale's interrogating him, and it looks like he's above like an industrial well, and it's I don't know what they've done, but you can see his metallic rib cage.
What are you talking about?
In Terminator Salvation.
Oh fuck! I thought, dude, for some reason I thought you went back to
no. I'm saying that scene where that is in the trailer, and it's like
it is. Well, yeah,
now you've just ruined the whole twist of the movie.
Yeah.
But anyways, back to this movie. No, but even like I was saying about Ving Rhames, his character is an ass. But I will say, because it's Ving Rhames, Spoiler alert, he gets killed. The scene where he does die, the note I wrote was just, oh, poor Ving.
Yeah, he got shot the fuck up.
Even like, yeah,
but it's not even his death that freaked me out. It's what the fuck happens after his death. There's two scenes in particular with his dead body that will forever be in doubt in my head, man. It's the scene where the father brother is like basically cutting him up and eating him.
Oh yes.
And then throwing the meat
that took me a second because he's got him almost like strung up and he's got his back to the kid, and as he turns around he's got blood all around his mouth and he's chewing, and I'm like, wait a second, is he eating him too?
It's like the lighting, just a single flashlight, and it's like you don't really know what's happening until the light, and then you're like, oh, okay.
But those scenes are things that speak to the greatness of Wes Craven as a thriller and horror director. Is he knows how to make those scenes tense, make the viewer feel that tension and feel that terror of, because if you imagine yourself in that scene of just darkness and you have one singular light, that would be absolutely terrifying.
Yeah, I mean,
to be in that situation.
If used correctly, yeah, it can definitely shock the shit out of you. The second scene with Ving Rhames' dead body, that I think this one's even more freaky, is when Roach. You don't know it's Roach. You don't know what the hell's going on, but all of a sudden, Fool focuses attention and he sees Ving Rhames' body after being thrown in like this pit rise. And like he's shaking and shit, and like this crazy like howl sound. I don't know what the hell sound Roach was making, but you for a second you're freaking the fuck out. Like, what the fuck's happening? And the fact that he's like Roach is like shaking the body, it just like, dude, I'll never forget that.
Yeah, it's almost like he's almost just like got his hands under his arms and he's just levitating him up.
Right? I'm like, this is a joke to you, Roach. This is what you call a joke? God damn, that shit. And he just laughs and then drops the body. I was like, oh, god damn.
Well, that's all he can do, because I mean, he can't talk. You find out in the movie that the father brother, as you call him, well, the father brother, as you call him, had his tongue cut out because, like you say.
Yeah, that part freaked me out too as a kid, seeing the tongue cut.
And he just straight opens his mouth, and it's like, oh shit.
So that's what I'm assuming. All the other boys also had the tongues. That's why they howl.
Yeah. So. And that's why it seems like they're able to say his name, because it's just like a howl. You're just trying to add the F on the beginning of it.
Yeah.
But no, and that, I mean. Oh, I haven't. No, speaking of Ving Rhames again, real quick, I have another note that I wrote down here. It was a pretty funny line. I forget. I think it was his sisters mentioned something about him being 13, or it might even be when they're in the car with with Ving Rhames and his partner that are going to break into the house. Yeah, and he says something about being 13, and Ving Rhames goes, 13, too old to get the tit, too young to get some ass.
Yeah, he also said a line that I forgot. He said something about being the secretary of pussy. I'm like, is that
You're talking to a child.
Is that a real position? Like, is that a real thing in the?
But it's these things that you see in certain movies, and it's like, you are speaking to a child.
Oh, he didn't give a fuck. He fucked him up in the beginning. Like, he was about to choke him out.
Oh yeah.
Ving Rhames did not give a fuck about a child in this movie.
No, not at all.
At least one specific child. Like, he would throw hands.
No, his goal in this entire movie was the money. It didn't matter. Nothing else mattered, and that's why I agree with like what you said. I don't think he was ever planning on giving him a cut of anything.
No, I think he probably would have done something sinister.
If not even, maybe even to his own partner, let alone the kid.
I think I don't know. But yeah, who knows? He was so about the money that yeah, he's probably willing to do almost anything to keep as much as he could.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. No, there's.
he got what was coming to him, unfortunately.
Then I got to the other scene in the movie that just kind of made my jaw hit the floor. And I don't even remember the context of how it comes about, but it's when
Whenever he's like in pursuit.
Yeah, and so your father brother comes barreling out of a door wearing what I can only describe as like a gimp, a Pulp Fiction gimp-esque
Like
bondage
BDSM.
type full body suit with mask and the whole thing while brandishing a shotgun.
Not only a shotgun, he had a shotgun with like a knife, a bandolier, some shit like that.
Oh, there was a bayonet on it?
Bayonet, that's what it is. Yeah, man. I don't know if it was he swapped it out, but there is a scene where he has that weapon.
Oh, you're right, because that's what he ends up stabbing the dog with.
Yeah, I don't know if he had that the whole time and he just had a normal shotgun and then switched it out to that, or maybe he just didn't have the knife out. I don't know how that worked, but yeah,
Oh yeah, that
dude,
first scene when he come running out into the hallway, my jaw hit the floor, and I was like, "What is going on?"
yeah, man, that character is definitely dialed to 11.
Oh yeah, it must. I mean, as much fun as it seems to be to film a comedy, I feel like filming this type of a horror thriller movie has got to be just as much fun. Just with some of the stuff they do on camera, it's. I mean, me personally, I think I would have a blast.
Yeah, and you kind of need an actor that can at least have some type of comedic chops that can say
Look like
those
they're
lines in
enjoying
a way
themselves.
that would be funny. But yeah, no, that father brother, yeah, he was a very disturbing character.
Well, and they're even
I loved it.
feeding.
I liked it.
It even shows they're feeding. They're not only feeding bodies or body parts to the boys under the stairs, but they're even feeding them to the dog.
Yeah, man, that's all they eat. That's all
It
they eat
it,
is people.
it real that's what it really seems like. But
At least the at least like the father brother, that motherfucker, that's all he ate. In the beginning, when he's eating what clearly is a human slab of ribs, he's like picking out the buckshot. That must have been like a repairman or something they killed recently.
see, you know what? Now that you say that, I never even put that together.
You don't, yeah, because you're still trying to figure things out at the very beginning, right? So that's something that you don't even think about until
I almost
a
even
rewatch.
I almost even wrote a note on that because I'm like I'm watching it and then right after that scene it shows Fool going through the ghetto to his apartment, and I'm like, wait a second, they're in like the middle of L.A. Like, where is this guy going hunting that he shot something with a shotgun? And it wasn't registering in my head that it was like you say, it was probably he was eating a person.
Yeah, it's something. Yeah, it's something that you won't really catch until your probably second rewatch, which I think is a positive thing towards the movie. I think this movie definitely has rewatchability, and the fact that you're catching stuff in your rewatch makes it better.
Yeah, I agree with that. If a movie has that, like you said, that rewatchability, it immediately goes up a few notches in my book. I mean, there are certain movies that I've seen that I will never see. I will never watch again, whether or not I enjoyed them. Um,
Of course.
but
Yeah,
this,
the
no,
movie
that,
can be brilliant, but the subject matter you only kind of just want to watch once.
yeah, exactly. And I feel that this, no, I would definitely rewatch this movie for sure.
Yeah, this is one I watch. I try to watch every Halloween.
I
It's
think
in
it might
rotation.
end up going into the rotation from here on out because, like I said, I did enjoy it quite a bit. Um,
Did your significant other watch it as well?
no, she didn't.
Oh man, I bet she probably would have enjoyed it too.
No, she didn't have a whole lot of interest.
My girlfriend fucking hates it.
Oh really? Is she not into the horror, or just this
It
movie
just it
just doesn't
disturbed
do it for
her.
her?
It disturbed her so much she doesn't like it.
Okay.
I was like, because she's not really. She likes horror movies, but like not the crazy shit, not
See,
disturbing or too
yeah,
much
she's
horror. Or she likes her. She likes more of like the scream.
like a
Uh,
slasher.
yeah, nothing too gory, nothing too much excessive in any.
I will say I was surprised. I didn't find this movie gory at all.
Only
Just
the
with
part with Ving Rhames' body that is gory as shit to me.
yeah, but that
Not a
was
lot
that.
of it.
That's a
It's a
pretty quick
sliver.
scene.
It's a sliver, but it's effective as shit.
Yeah, I say it's a pretty quick scene.
Yeah, I
I
mean,
would.
yeah, like I said, I was a kid when I watched it, so it's like it left such an impact on me, man.
Well, that was another. That was the thing
It
that.
was just so effective.
Yeah. See, I didn't find it. I mean, watching it now as a 37-year-old adult, I didn't find it scary or anything like that.
No.
But I could see if I watched this as a kid, I would have been fucking terrified. Because again, just like the trailer said, we all had growing up, whether it be kids in the neighborhood making up rumors or things like that, there was always that one house or that one apartment building or something like that that everybody kind of talked about, and everybody was like, "Oh, you should stay away from there," and this and that. And if I would have watched this movie and then heard things like that, dude, I wouldn't have gone within 3 blocks of that house,
Yeah. And
let alone in front of it.
I think what saved it for me is the fact that there's like, I guess, a bit of a happy ending. If this didn't, if it had such a bleak ending, I think I would have been terrified.
No, I thought it had a pretty happy ending.
For a horror movie, that's definitely a happy ending.
I
Even though
will
I have
say,
questions. I have questions about that ending, but yeah.
well, yeah, but I mean, I will say that we talked about the character Roach a few minutes ago. To go back on him, the scene where he dies, I was like legitimately sad. I was like, oh, that poor guy.
Yeah, man. You root for Roach at one point, even though you're still trying to figure out his first couple appearances. But once you figure it out, you're rooting for him. He's like a fan favorite character.
I will say it was a bit of a weird scene because it was just that him, Roach, and Fool, and all of a sudden Fool just kind of looks at him and he goes, "Oh, Roach, you're shot," and he looks down at his leg and then he lays down and dies.
Do you remember when he got shot?
I think it was when they were running.
Yeah, he when they were all in the room
Yeah,
and
but
and
no,
the
no, no, no.
father
Just the way it was, because at that point he was they were still kind of running away, and he was just kind of moving a little bit slow, but there was no. They didn't allude to it at all, and then all of a sudden, Fool just kind of goes, "Oh, Roach, you got shot," and he looks down and he's like, "Oh yeah," and then he lays down and he dies,
I'm
and I was
dead.
like, "That's a little like." Does that mean that if he never would have said anything, he would have just kept going?
Yeah, I could see that. They should they should have at least alluded to the fact that have him being
or
more
drew it out even for
affected by it.
another minute or two.
Yeah. The death was quick.
But when he did, I was like, "Oh, that sucks." Like he was a crazy fucking weirdo. He became a crazy weirdo type thing. But I was really rooting for him and like, oh, maybe they'll really get out, because for those of you who haven't seen this movie, the quote unquote adopted daughter Alice, she ends up becoming an ally of Fool, and she wants to see him get out because she starts to realize what these people are doing, and he basically he says to her, like, these are not your parents, like they're baby snatchers, he calls them, like they took you from your real family, and and this and that, and she starts to really really realize that, and she wants to see him get out, and she wants to go with him, but she's so terrified of these people.
Yeah, well, there's subtle hints
can't.
that, there's subtle hints that she's been there her whole life. She doesn't know
She thinks they're legitimately
anything
her
about the
parents.
outside world. Like, she didn't even know what a neighborhood is. She didn't know. So, I think that is what added the fact that she was like so terrified to leave when she had the opportunity to leave.
Yeah, and that's like even
Total.
even the first, because again he when he escapes, the first time he when he slides down the roof and jumps in the what looks like a big pond in the backyard, he says to her like, "Come with me," and she's so terrified that she's like, I can't, like, as much as as much as you can tell she wants to, that fear that these people have instilled in her is still too much for her to be like, yeah, I'm gonna get out of here, like I'm gonna go. And I mean, it's sad because you see news stories of things like this really like not to this extent, but the kidnappings and the abductions of people, and it's a really scary thing that happens in this world, and that there are people out there that are willing to just kidnap a child and brainwash them like this. And
Speaking of a news story, I think this movie is inspired by one.
I believe I think it says something like based on true events or something like that, or based on something at the beginning of the movie.
Yeah.
I think I did read something about that.
Yeah, I think the gist of it is police found these kidnapped boys in a basement.
Yeah.
And I think the movie just spawned from that.
Yeah. I mean,
Scary.
there's all kinds of these stories that have over the past several years that have come out. It's terrifying that what people are willing to do to their fellow human being.
Oh man, yeah. I just heard of a news story years ago that about a adopted children and the adoptee parents, and whew,
Yeah.
ruined my day.
Yeah. And I mean, as much as it was, in the past when I would hear or read that stuff, it would affect me. But now that I'm a parent, it's that much more intense and more terrifying. And it's like, I don't understand how anybody could do this to anybody, let alone a child. I mean, it would be bad enough if somebody did this to an adult, let alone a defenseless kid. Like it's
Yeah, man. I had that realization today, uh, with my job, like my side gig. Uh, I deal with children, and I was pushing one on the swing, and I was just thinking, like, how could anybody do that, or do anything sinister, or even think of doing anything sinister to this innocent
I was gonna say
child, man? Like,
children are
that's
the epitome of innocence.
just to just to even be in that mindset. Dude, that's
Yeah,
that's next level. That's
I
next
can
level evil to me. That's just pure evil.
yeah, I could never wrap my mind around that.
So yeah, I
But
mean, and
that's a pretty depressing subject.
but it's all over this movie, man. It's part of
Absolutely, it is.
one of the many shades of this movie, which makes it a worthy of a watch, because it blends so many different things and it does it very well.
Yeah, I agree.
And it only
So
gets better after rewatching it. You're probably gonna have a better time rewatching it
yeah,
now that you.
I'm looking forward to rewatching it. Probably, I might even rewatch it again this year before Halloween. But if not, if I don't, I will definitely be rewatching it next year.
No, yeah, it's definitely worth it.
But so yeah, so again, we'll get back into the story a little bit. with the help of the girl, the adopted daughter, um, he ends up they end up getting away, and he gets into the basement, and he is able to get the help, the assistance, I don't know how you want to say it, of the boys under the stairs. And they show him where the vault, I don't even know what room.
They keep all the money.
Yeah, that to me again is a really weird thing, but it's in the middle of
Like
the
they
room
just
where
throw the money. They just throw the money
it's
in the
just
room.
piles. It's
There's
piles of
no
coins and
organization.
bills and bags of cash, but it's in the center of this basement that's surrounded by these cannibal kids that they're keeping captive. Like, why is that where you would put your money to begin with? Like, anytime you would need to go to it, you have to go through all of these people and things like that. But
I just chalk it up to, I think one of the characters in the movie explained that the more money they got, I guess the crazier they got, or something like that, the way he was explaining it. So I think they were just so crazy that they were just storing it right underneath in a random ass room in piles. I just chalk it up to them just being too goddamn crazy at that current stage.
well, and the person who explains that is the great Bill Cobb, who
Yeah.
plays I believe they say he plays his grandfather, or
I don't know.
I think he refers to him as his grandfather at one point.
Probably.
But
I,
but
oh
yeah,
my
he
god.
because he brings him some of the coins because one of the boys gives him the coins. I think it's one of the boys who does it.
Yeah, when he first escapes,
And he
he
brings him and his
brings it to
grandfather's
him.
going. His
Yeah,
grandfather's like, well, just from this, and I think he's only holding
like
maybe
4.
6 coins or 5 coins or something, and
Yeah.
he's like, just from these alone, you guys will be able to pay rent for several months to come. So when you see him go into that vault, that money room, whatever you want to call it, and you see these piles of them, it's like, how much?
Right? A
Like,
bunch of gold coins and shit. That's like some Scrooge McDuck shit. I was like,
well,
there's a lot of goddamn random gold coins. Like, I have so many questions. Like, and the house is old too, so it's like I want to see a backstory to this. I
yeah,
think it has potential to
why
have a lot
gold?
of a
Where
good
did gold
prequel.
coins come from? Like, if
How
they're if
long have they been in the family? Like, how far does this go back?
well, because it's set up that they're landlords of multiple buildings. There's no way
Where'd
that
the
the
gold coins
coins.
come from,
Well,
though?
that's what I mean. There's no way people are paying rent in like artifact gold coins.
Yeah,
Like,
I
so
think it's,
where did
I
this
don't know.
shit come from?
I think it's a way to establish that they're old money, I guess. Like,
Yeah, that
they
I
come
guess
from a
that could
long
make
line of old
sense.
money, but it's like gold coins? They're just keeping it like on the floor,
I guess. I
on the
mean,
tables and stuff.
I don't know if there
Sure,
were tables in
they're
that room.
crazy. Sure, they're crazy. That's what crazy rich people who don't have who has like a trap murder house. I guess you're gonna just put your money anywhere because who's gonna try and break into your shit?
Yeah, exactly. You think that they all think that people are smarter than that than to try and get in there.
Yeah, and I think they have it rigged anyways too, right? I think they do have it rigged.
Yeah, they and then they also show that when he comes back for the second time that the father brother has rigged explosives all through the house, and then that's how he ends up getting away is he basically blows up. Fool does he ignites all of the explosives, somehow not injuring himself whatsoever,
Nope.
but I think killing or severely hurting the father brother, and the mother is killed by the boys. They basically surround her, and again, that's where they really act like zombies, and they just kind of all come at her all at once, and it's just this like a feeding frenzy, I guess.
Yeah, it was like a legit horror zombie scene, right?
Absolutely. It was a weird one. Like, it was a weird one, but it was like, holy shit, like
But but
they're
she
out
did
for blood, and
such a good job at being such a shitty, terrible person that when she gets ate up, you're kind of rooting for it.
yeah, you have no issues. It's like, okay, this
You
is
have
what
such
you deserve.
satisfaction because she deserved it, you know?
Yeah, absolutely.
And
Yeah, so
yeah,
he basically he ignite that this is the end of the movie. He blows it all up, and in an old movie trope, there is just money raining down from the chimney,
money.
and it's a kind of a funny scene because you see all of these people because what ends up happening is his sister and his grandfather come to the door and they're trying to confront these people who are as the landlords, like, you can't do this to us, and then behind them you see probably 100 people showing up as, I'm guessing, tenants of other
And
buildings or things
just
like that.
before that, she was about to drop that hard N word.
Oh yeah, well, he said the father says it earlier in the movie.
Oh
I made
yeah.
I made a note of that. He's like,
Oh
oh,
yeah.
some of them robbed a liquor store. I'm like, whoa, that was just like casually dropped in there.
Yeah, he kind of just says it out of nowhere. But yeah, man. Just let that you know they're terrible people. But yeah,
Absolutely.
she yeah, when the crowd comes, they yeah, it becomes
And they're all calling her out, I kind of laughed because they're basically like, yeah, you can't do this, we're here for you, and she's like, yep, not dealing with it, and just slams the door. And I went, well, what was the point of that?
right. I don't know what her plan was,
No,
but
I don't think she had. I think they were there because they knew that Fool had gone back into the house, and they were trying to buy him time or something like that.
maybe yeah,
That's the
I
only thing
wouldn't
I
doubt
could
it,
think of
but
because that's
they didn't
random
really
timing for it to just sync up like that.
about to get killed because Fool's about to get shot. So I could see that, but they didn't really establish it at all. So I guess we're
No, I
just
think it's just kind of inferred that way.
mm-hmm.
But yeah, so then I liked the end scene where it's you've got all these people in the crowd and they're just kind of like they're all picking up money off the ground, and then
Hell yeah, I'd do that.
well, through that crowd
I'd be fighting people.
you periodically see some of the boys who were under the stairs just kind of like popping up in the crowd, and they're like kind of looking both ways and then just kind of darting and running away. And it's like, yeah, they wouldn't care about money because they've been down there so long that either they were taken as such young children, they don't know the value of what money is,
Dude,
or
they're gonna be walking down the street and almost immediately either get shot or picked up because they look like zombies. You're monsters. They're like walking monsters.
they look like
I need
monsters.
to know what happened after this movie, man. What
But
happened to these on the stairs?
I just like the juxtaposition of these people who were there to confront the landlord. Now all of a sudden all they care about is getting this money, versus these people who had been held captive so long. They're not even phased by it. Like, they're not even paying attention
Oh yeah,
to
they have no
all this
idea what
money.
the
It's
money
just,
is.
no, that's what I mean. They're either taken too young to know what money is, or they've been down there so long they've forgotten the importance of it, and all they care about right now is being able to get out of this house and to try and be free.
I need to know what happened. They need to make a series or something after, man, because like they're cannibals, so they be eating people. They
Well,
definitely all got shot and died. Like that's the unfortunate reality of these freaking things, man. I need to know because that part was like, okay, I don't think they're gonna really just blend into society.
no, there's no way.
Yeah, man. Yeah, that part has always got me, man. I always wanted to know. It's one of the biggest unanswered thing about this movie. I just need to know what happened after. Should have had that at the end. And they do that from other movies.
Yeah, I agree. But well, it's funny you say that you wish like you said a sequel or a series of some kind. I did some research into this, and some of the trivia that I found. One of them, it said that shortly before his death, Wes Craven was actually developing a TV show, a series version of this film for the Sci-Fi Channel.
Okay.
Now I don't.
Sense.
I obviously.
I think a series would kept short.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what the parameters of it or how long they were planning on, or if it was even like a continuous thing or just like a few episode mini series. But I mean, so you can tell obviously because Wes Craven, he passed away in 2015, so that was 8 years ago. So either they decided not to move forward with it, or they hadn't gotten very far before he passed away. But I think it would have been a kind of an interesting thing to do, and if they were ever to make it now, I'd be quite interested in checking that out. But I have a few more little trivia things here. So AJ Langer, who plays Alice, she was 17 at the time of filming, playing a 12-year-old. I find this amusing.
Yeah, she definitely looked older.
Well, only because I don't think in the movie they ever say that she's actually 12. So if it's never said, I don't think it necessarily needs to be like, yep, this is her age. Like if you cast an actress who's a little bit older, okay, she's 17, say she's 15. Say her character's, you know what I mean though?
Yeah. I'll give her credit on the scenes where like she's being horribly abused. I think those moments her acting was good. Like it was believable.
Yeah, she didn't do bad in those.
Other than that,
it wasn't great.
Yeah. And it was really, impactful, like those scenes. I mean, the fact that she gets thrown into a hot scalding.
That was the one with the bath. I was like, holy shit. And that was right after that wasn't, I forget.
It's after she like cleans up the blood.
But I can't remember whose blood it was. I can't remember
if it was Ving Rhames?
I can't remember if it was Ving Rhames or if it was Spencer, his partners.
I think it was Ving Rhames because that's where he got shot. I think he just bled out.
I think that might have been
landed.
But the craziest thing with that is she's coming down the stairs and she's holding her hand and she kind of like whips her forward. And I don't know if it was supposed to happen this way, but like as her feet hit the blood, she just wipes right out in it.
I think it was meant to her like definitely fall and slip, but
and then you
right on her ass. They definitely
bring her into
for her to like at least slip.
Yeah,
in that scene.
Well, and then like you say, after they bring her into the bathroom, and you can see the steam, and you can tell that water is just absolutely scalding, and she just throws her in and starts scrubbing. It's like that is an unpleasant thing to experience. I can't even imagine.
Yeah, no, that's part of the reason why this movie is disturbing.
Yeah. It's not the gore, it's the things in between.
Yeah.
But the most, what I found was the most interesting tidbit of trivia that I found was that for the role of Roach, originally auditioned by Hilary Swank, because the character was written to be either male or female. They had just kind of had, I guess Wes Craven had just kind of wrote the character as like this is in the film. I don't know if it's going to be a guy or a girl. We'll kind of figure that out later. But I guess Hilary Swank auditioned for that.
Maybe when they decided that Roach was going to be killed, they decided to go male.
Yeah, that's possible.
I don't think a woman getting shot. I think that probably would have been maybe. I don't know. I'm just trying to give reason as to why they went the boy route.
Yeah. Well, I mean, this movie came out. I just looked it up now. This movie came out 3 years before she was the next Karate Kid.
Yeah.
So she might have been more age appropriate than, I mean, if they're supposed to be a 16-year-old or however, that she might have been more age appropriate than Sean Whalen was. I'm not really sure what the age difference there is.
I think it would have made the story a little bit better since there was a girl that they had, and that because she didn't, because
That could have been their
they say it a few
connection.
times. They say a few times in the movies, "See no evil, speak no evil, hear no
Hear no
evil."
evil.
Shit. So she could have been the one little girl who didn't do that. I think that would have added maybe a little bit more
Well, and
to
it
it, I
also
guess. Or maybe
it also could have given some kind of like an unspoken connection between the two of them, like because they're both as them both being female, things like that. Because I mean, even in this fucked up situation, I'm sure that there are people who watch this and were like, "Oh, it's a boy and a girl. They must like each other romantically."
yeah.
I didn't think that because I have a
No,
functioning brain in my head.
no, I never thought that at
But
all.
I'm sure there are some people out there who would make that argument, and it's like that's fucking insane. But all right, to each their own. You think what you want to think. But
No, yeah.
no, I think
But
that's gonna do it for this. What do you have to say about about this movie, and would you recommend it, and what would you give it? What would you rate
oh,
it out of 5?
out of 5, I'd give it honestly for me personally, because I grew up with this movie. Um, it has it left a pretty big impact on my childhood. I'd give it for me. I'm giving it a 4.
Okay,
Um, not I recommend this movie definitely, and I try to recommend it to people that I know are into movies. It's one of those movies that should be watched annually around not Christmas, freaking
around
Halloween.
Christmas time, that's a weird Christmas tradition.
Christmas. I got Christmas on the brain all day today. So, but yeah, Halloween. It's just one of those not too scary, but just entertaining, fun horror comedy. Just a really fun movie that's got a little bit of horror elements to it. That's good.
Okay, yeah, no, I completely agree with that. Myself, I would say the film I found it very fun, very entertaining movie to watch. Of course, the subject matter isn't fun, but the way it's portrayed and the kind of the journey that the characters go on, it's a fun ride to go on with the characters and to watch. Overall, the acting wasn't great, but that's kind of the norm with horror movies like this. But I liked that they had those moments of comedy and levity in the movie that it kind of breaks up the horror aspect and the terror and the because otherwise without that it's just a depressing movie about horrible human beings, whereas at least if you add the humor in it, it gives a little bit of enjoyability to it and watchability to it. But I would
100%.
definitely watch this again. I think like I said, I'm gonna have to add this into my yearly Halloween October stable. Um, and I would give it a 3.5 out of 5 as my rating. I really enjoyed it. It surprised me how much I liked it. But yeah, I'm really glad that you had suggested this one for us to do because I had never heard of it before, and I probably never would have heard of it and never would have watched it, and I'm glad that I did.
Yeah, I knew, as a fan of, movies, it's definitely one that I'm glad I recommended to you because I knew you would have liked it. It's
Yeah.
not. Rewatching it even a couple years ago after so long of not watching it, it held up, and ever since then I've just been recommending it to everyone.
Yeah, no, it was really good. Like I say, I enjoyed it quite a bit. So that's gonna wrap it up for this episode, and I'd like to say that for the rest of October, we've got some things planned. We're gonna try and get this back to a regular basis. We're gonna try and do a weekly show. I think we're gonna do another one more Halloween type horror movie coming up maybe next week, and then after that, we've discussed going into maybe doing some TV shows. Doing a couple episodes at a time per episode and kind of discussing that. And if anybody out there, any of our listeners have any suggestions of what they might want to see us tackle in the future, you can reach out to us on Twitter or X at geeked_podcast, and that's spelled with a capital G, or you can email us at geekedoutpod@gmail.com. Also, you can rate and follow us on Spotify. We're available on Amazon Music, I believe Google Podcast, and as well on another app that I actually use as well called Podcast Addict. So give us a follow and rate us and write a review, leave a review for us, and that'll help us get some feedback on what you guys think and what you guys like and what you might want to hear us do in the future. But that's going to do it for this episode, and I hope you guys enjoyed it. And thanks for listening. So I hope you guys enjoy this movie when you decide to watch it, and you beware the people under your stairs as well.
Yeah, go watch People Under the Stairs.
Thanks for listening, guys. You take care.
Peace.